Hello, everyone. This is Independent Conservative. Thank you all for joining me once again. Now, I said that I wasn't going to talk about anything else for a while relating to Charlie Kirk. I know. But this is just too juicy for me to pass up. I'm sorry, guys. Forgive me, okay? Forgive me. But this is just too juicy to pass up. And I felt led to say something about it because I think that this needs to be addressed. It really needs to be addressed because this, in my opinion, does incite a lot of negative reactions and may, in fact, infuse people who are unstable to do things they ought not do. And what I'm talking about here is that there was in an article I'm about to read to you guys that there was a teacher in Iowa who lost his job as a teacher because he posted something on his social media site. I think it was X, formerly known as Twitter. And he posted something on there that said, "One Nazi down." This is in reference to Charlie Kirk's assassination, of course, you know. Needless to say, he ended up, I believe, losing his job as a teacher now, okay? So I'm going to read you guys this article, and I'm going to give you my view on this because I think, let me preface this conversation by saying that I think that there is a level of responsibility in what, not only what we do, but what we say as people in authority. There is a level of responsibility that we have to be aware of. So let's get right into this article. And it says, Matthew Cargo, a teacher at what is this? Oskaloosa High School in Oskaloosa, Iowa. Maybe I'm not pronouncing that right. I don't know. You guys know I'm not good at this. Has been fired after celebrating the horrific assassination of Turning Point U.S. founder Charlie Kirk by posting, quote, "One Nazi down" on social media. The school board voted unanimously last week to terminate Cargo, who taught art at the high school, after he posted the hateful rhetoric to social media, according to a report by KCRG. It says, quote, "I'm not a person on social media, but many people are, and they are sharing screenshots, and our comms director, he was all over it, and we are seeing all the traffic and the things that were going on. So we know we had to get involved." Oskaloosa School Superintendent Mike Fisher, who recommended Cargo's firing, said on September 11th, one day after Kirk's murder, Fisher told KCCI that Cargo's, these names, what is up with the names? Cargo's behavior on social media caused, quote, "disruption at the school." Now, with this being the case, it says his behavior on social media caused disruption, quote, "disruption at the schools." Influence, people, influence, okay? "This has created a substantial material disruption to our learning environment the last 12 hours, Fisher said at the time. Cargo reacted by filing a lawsuit against Fisher and the Oskaloosa Community School District, claiming the teacher's Facebook post was merely, quote, okay, so it's Facebook, was merely, quote, "rhetorical hyperbole," according to a report by ABC 7 Eyewitness News. The lawsuit goes on to say that Cargo's menacing post was not made in the classroom or during work hours, and that the remarks did not threaten anyone or incite imminent unlawful action, was not directed at anyone in the school community. However, Cargo's Facebook post was published after Kirk was assassinated, and while unhinged teachers across the United States reacted to the assassination with ghoulish glee. The Turning Point USA founder, who is now a martyr for free speech, was assassinated while holding a microphone as he tried to engage in an open and respectful dialogue with a student at Utah Valley University on September 10th. The murder came after leftists spent years, and this is true. This article is telling the truth about this. Leftists were doing this. The murder came after leftists spent years falsely labeling Kirk, like many in the conservative space, calling them fascists and Nazis, just like Cargo did in his social media posts, fueling anger among left-wing radicals. Cargo is among a slew of examples of other educators across the country who continued spreading violent and hateful rhetoric about Kirk even after his assassination. I'm going to stop right there. And not only that, it's interesting because the radical left not only spreads this kind of rhetoric about Charlie Kirk and Trump and his followers and so forth, the MAGA crowd as being Nazis and fascists and all the rest, but when you look on it on a racial aspect, black people, not all, but many blacks, particularly unbelievably or not, in churches are saying that he was racist. So not only is the radical, and I believe the radical left is involved in planting these seeds of division among black people and many black churches. Because many of I've seen pastors get up and say, this one particular pastor got up and said, and I'm paraphrasing his words, that even though he disagreed with Charlie Kirk's death, assassination, he essentially downplayed his assassination by calling him a racist. I will not celebrate a racist. I mean, this man was just talking and it was just really, really bad. And in connection to the left, the radical left, misleading people about Charlie Kirk as being a Nazi and a fascist and all the rest, okay, they are also planting the seeds of division in terms of race among black people in some black churches. So you see all this division being spit out there among these radical leftists, and they're communists and they're Marxists, and that's the whole point. They want to keep this division going. They want to keep the division going in order to foment a revolution, a Marxist revolution in this country. But I've spoke about that many times before. I'm not going to go into the detail there. I want to get into the aspects of personal responsibility for those who are in positions of authority. Now, I've said this before, that I believe in freedom of speech on both sides, whether it's the right, whether it's the left. I think and believe that you have the right as an American citizen to express your views, religious views. You have a right as an American citizen to express your political views. You have that right. That's one of the freedoms that we in America at this point, to some extent, have the right to do. Whether you left or right, you have a right to do that. That's why Kimbo, whatever, he was reinstalled and brought back to the show, whatever. You have a right to do that. Okay, you have a right to give your opinion. You have the right to give your opinion politically. You have the right to give your opinions about spiritual things. You have that right. However, this teacher here, who is a teacher in a school, okay, posting this information on his social media Facebook outlet, should have been a little bit more discerning. My point is this. If you are a person in a position of authority, whether you are a pastor, that's a position of authority. An elder, that's a position of authority in a church. A CEO, that's a position of authority in a corporation. A teacher in a school, whether it's from kindergarten, whether it's from first grade to 12th grade, or whether it's post-education in college campuses and universities. You are a person of authority and you have influence. These individuals have influence over the minds and perceptions of the people that they're over, whether it be good or bad. And because of that, this teacher, I have no problem with them losing their job. Because even though he said this off campus, he wasn't in school, it wasn't directed, you said stuff that had influence over the minds of the young people in that school. And it was negative. It caused disruption. Because as a teacher, you are someone with authority. What this teacher should have done is kept that kind of rhetoric or kept that kind of speech, quote unquote, free speech, at a limit. If you didn't like Charlie Kirk, I get it. But don't say something on social media as a teacher, as a person of authority, as one Nazi down. That is one of the stupidest, dumbest things this teacher could have ever done. What was this teacher thinking? Well, it's not in the schools, it's on social media, so I can just say whatever I want to say and do whatever I want to do. Let's go back to the conservative side. I said this before, I'm going to repeat it. during the Trump's first administration and during Biden's administration, when conservatives were exercising their free speech on Facebook, on YouTube, on other social media platforms, when they were expressing their free speech and their opinions about Biden and Democrats, they were being canceled. They were being censored. All of this stuff was happening to them. I, once again, was a victim of that kind of cancel culture. It was happening all the time to conservatives. And now that this person whom I believe was liberal, this teacher whom I believe was a liberal, because I don't think any conservative would sit up here and say one Nazi down about Charlie Kirk's assassination. This person had to be a crazy liberal, far left, radical, messed up, dead, spiritually dead, mentally brain dead liberal. Trying to be nice here. Okay, it's hard to be nice about these kind of people. It's hard to speak nice about them. Clearly, this person, in my opinion, was a liberal, or at least a radical liberal. School board gets together. They terminate this guy's position in school. Well, you can't eat your cake and eat, you can't what your cake and eat it too. You just can't have it both ways. You just can't have it both ways. What am I saying? I'm not saying, and what about, well, Mr. Bowling, you over here saying, doing the same thing. Please follow what I'm trying to say. I hope people that are watching this that may be liberal try to understand. I know it's hard. Like when Charlie Kirk would talk to liberals, it was very difficult for them to comprehend what Charlie Kirk was trying to say because they were so mad. You just a hateful. I hate you. Well, if you feel with hate and anger and frustration and of course you're not going to think rationally or sensibly. So I get it. But if you're watching this video and you're liberal, try to understand what I'm trying to say because I'm not the best communicator. So I'm going to try to communicate this. I'm not saying I wish people who give their opinions about Charlie Kirk lose their job. I'm talking about people like this who are people of influence, a teacher. Even though he didn't say this in school, he said it on social media, and clearly people were watching his social media posts, and he spread that. That's what he did. He spread that information. And apparently, according to some, caused disruption. I mean, my point is, you're a person of authority. You're a person of authority. Watch what you say in school. Watch what you say out of school. Just because you're not in the school saying that doesn't mean that you are not a person of influence. People who are in positions of authority have influence for the good or the bad. And if you are not in school and you're saying things like this and posting this kind of information, and it's causing disruption, and it's inaccurate, it's a lie, that is very, very, very insensitive. One Nazi down with no evidence whatsoever to support this idea that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi. This, I don't know why this goes over people's heads, the liberals' head. Well, then again, I do know, because liberals have been a lot of these far left liberals have been so brainwashed and so under mind control, it's really hard for them to think rationally. So I do understand it. But come on, man, Jesus Christ. At least try to understand what's going on here. Try to at least sit back and calm down and say, wait a minute. Something ain't right about how this sounds. One Nazi down? What evidence is there to support that Charlie Kirk was a Nazi? Who took the time to subscribe to the man's channel? Who took the time to watch his debates on college campus and truly took the time to watch it? People that say this kind of stuff like this teacher clearly, in my opinion, didn't take the time to do that. So to say something as ignorant as he said is one of the most foolish things that he could ever do. And by the way, if you hear some crazy noise out there, it's raining. Man, it's raining pretty hard. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So, yeah, that's what I wanted to say about that. This teacher losing his job, in a situation like that, when you're someone of authority and you say those kind of things and you lose your job, I'm not necessarily against that. If you're a business CEO and you're saying things like that, that could hurt the bottom line of that company. And they'll fire you for it because it can hurt their bottom line. It can hurt their customer base. When you were a teacher in school and you say these kind of things, whether they be in the school or on social media, and you say these kind of things, guess what? It has a negative effect on the mindset of the students. You're a person of influence. When you're a pastor or an elder in the church and you get in the pulpit, like some of these pastors and elders have done, and you spit this kind of rhetoric about Charlie Kirk being a Nazi and racist and all this kind of stuff without real established fundamental facts, that's influence on the minds of the people you talking to for the bad, not for the good. And if God strips his anointing from them, God strips his anointing. If God takes that person down and silences them, and what I mean by silence is they lose their position. Not talking about something bad happens. They lose their position, okay? That's what, then so be it. Because people of authority have to be responsible for not only what they do, but what they say, whether they're in their official capacity or outside of their official capacity. Okay, that's my opinion on that. And this teacher losing his job, I don't feel sorry for him. I agree with that because you're a person of influence for good or bad. And he needs to watch what he say off the school campus as well. That's what I had to say about that. What do you guys think about this teacher losing his job? Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it because of what he said on social media outlets? Leave your comments in the comment section below. Like, share, and subscribe to my channel. God bless y'all. See you again.